Hi guys, today I wanted to give you some tips on how to be more productive as a creative person. So my name's Sarah, I love to write musicals and I love to get things done. I love to be productive, and here is what I have learned from my many years of being a writer and being a creative person. So the first one is deadlines. Deadlines for me work wonders, and this might not be the same for everybody, but if I have a deadline, I meet that deadline and it forces me to achieve what I'm trying to do, whether or not I do that in the last possible moments before that deadline, or whether it motivates me through that entire period to do stuff every day. It doesn't matter, because by the deadline, if you meet the deadline, you get the result. Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you need to scramble and stress at the last minute and pull some crazy all-nighter, or if you're working, methodically up until the deadline, you are still going to achieve that result if you honor the deadline. So that's why I really like deadlines. Now, there are two different types of deadlines that I think about in my head, and the first one is real deadlines, okay? So things that you actually need to get done by a certain date, or something bad's gonna happen. So like if I entered a certain competition and they wanted me to send them a pitch by a certain date. Well, I've now involved other people, right? And they're expecting something from me, and I now have to deliver by that date. So by participating in sort of real world scenarios that involve other people, where the stakes are a little bit higher, I consider that like a real deadline. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have to achieve XYZ by this date. And again, it doesn't matter if I do it the night before, it doesn't matter if I do it weeks leading up to it. The deadline means that by that day, I'm going to have a result. Now, the other type of deadline is like a faux deadline, right? Or like a fake deadline. And this could just be saying to yourself in your mind, oh, there's a submission opportunity that closes on the 7th of January, and I think I really want to submit for it, so I'm going to try and write a play before that deadline, and I want to submit for that this year. And if you don't end up submitting to that opportunity, nothing bad is going to happen, right? They don't know that you'd mentally planned to submit for that. Nothing is going to happen. There are no consequences if you do not meet that deadline. So it still works really great as like a marker and something to work towards, but it's slightly different because you've not yet involved anybody else. It's all just stuff that's happening in your own mind and planning, and it doesn't really matter if you don't meet the deadline. Now, these are really great because you can pick and choose whatever deadline you want. It's a really great way to give yourself something to work towards, something to build towards, and like a really clear goal with a really clear end point of when you want to achieve that goal. The reason that it is sometimes less effective is because there are less stakes, right? If you don't meet that deadline, it doesn't really matter. So I have a few tips on ways to create your own stakes, okay? And this comes to a bit of a story. Now, I have recently, in the past couple of months, gotten back into making YouTube videos, which I have really enjoyed, but I've always found it quite hard to be motivated to do like a video a week, because it is a lot of work to think of the concept and record the video and edit it and blah, 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 and upload it and whatever. So me and my brother, we said to each other that we were going to both do a YouTube video each week, and whoever stopped first and didn't do an upload and lost the bet first, they were going to have to XYZ. And initially my brother said, okay, whoever loses, whoever fails to upload their video that week, they have to give the other person $5,000. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not giving you $5,000. Like, I can't be splashing that kind of cash. But then he had a good point and said, well, you clearly don't believe in yourself that you're going to do it. Like, if you actually are going to do this every single week, it shouldn't matter if it's $5,000 or if it's $1 million. Like, you're not going to have to pay that money because you're going to do it. And I did not take the $5,000 deal. Not that I didn't want to back myself 100%, but I just wanted it to be believable and achievable and really feel real in my mind. So we decided that whoever lost was going to have to take the other person on like an all expenses paid night out, like to get food and drinks and go do something fun, and we were going to have a night where we hung out and the other person would have to pay for absolutely everything. So it felt like instantly we had raised the stakes, and lo and behold, I have made a video every single week since we made that bet. And it's not like, in my opinion, like a real deadline. Like at the end of the day, if I don't upload a video, the sky's not gonna fall. I've not really involved any serious third-party people. I'm not gonna look bad if I don't upload a video. So it's more of a faux deadline to me, where I've just made an agreement with a friend, like, oh, we're gonna do this, but I've been able to give it a little bit more that stakes factor, where I really am more motivated to succeed. I really am more motivated to meet that deadline, and that is absolutely golden. So if you have a friend, or you have a writers group, or you have a mentor or a mentee or a buddy or somebody that you can get together with and say, hey, in 2 months' time, this is the deadline, what do you want to achieve by then? And then make sure that you have some kind of stakes, whether it's just like the other person has to do push-ups, or like it could be anything, right? But just having something makes it feel that little bit more real, and not just raising the stakes, but also adding like a check-in element, okay? So you could say to your friend, okay, in 2 months, this is the deadline. This is what we're going to achieve. Here's what's going to happen if we don't achieve it. And I'm going to check up on you, and you're going to check up on me at the 1 month mark. And then we're going to have a debrief at the 2 month mark, all right? So constantly checking in holds yourself accountable, right? So when I've been making these videos each week, it's been a great reason to call up my brother, catch up, have a chat, but also to check in, like, how was the experience this week of like meeting that deadline and trying to create something, okay? So if you're gonna go for a faux deadline, I would say make sure that you have like consequences if you don't get there, and make sure that you have some schedule of check-ins so that you can work together and hold each other accountable. Now, the second thing I would recommend to increase your productivity as a creative person is to test out and find what methods work best for you in terms of when you like to work, what helps you to get the most done. And I think it's really easy to assume that you've already done this, right? So I used to always think, I work best late at night, okay? So in my mind, I just knew that about myself as an assumed fact. It meant that I didn't even bother trying to get anything done in the morning. And I felt like I worked best when I had cleaned the house and I was in a really nice, clean environment. But what that meant was that I was never ever even sitting down to try and do any work until the house was meticulous, right? And this could take all day to clean the house, right? And at the end of the day, I had to acknowledge that maybe these are excuses. Maybe they are true. Maybe I do work best in a tidy house, but can I find a way to also prioritize my work and get some stuff done while there's still dishes at the sink, okay? And that has been really, really helpful. So I used to work best at nights, and now I walk in the morning to drop off my child at nursery, at daycare. And so I have tried out doing my writing first thing when I get back from the drop off, okay? Before I do the dishes, before I tidy anything, before I do a thing. And I found that that's actually been kind of like life-changing for my productivity, because I can get in a good few hours of work, and in my mind, if I don't achieve anything else on my writing for the rest of the week, well, at least I've still got those few hours in the bag. Yeah, I've still got those few hours done. Whereas previously I might have spent the whole day trying to do other errands and get to a place where I feel like I have a clear mind and I can fully sit down and be present. But then the day's going to run out, right? The day is always going to run out. Whatever is your top priority, I think now you have to do it first, and your top priority does not have to be the dishes. You can prioritize your own writing and your own creative work, even if you are not being paid to do it, even if it is not, bringing in the bacon. You're still allowed to prioritize that work in your day. And what I found is that if I do that first and I'm on a roll and things are on fire, I might want to end up doing that all day, right? Or if I just get a couple of hours done and then that's it, and I need some time to just like mull it over and process, well, then I'll go clean the house. And it's like all of the ideas have started to spark and fizzle. And I can actually be like doing that processing thinking time whilst I'm doing those chores and other things. So it's been really, really great. So I would say don't assume that whatever routine you're in now is the optimal for you. Like, just try something different, try something new for a week. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but you might end up surprising yourself. Next up is productivity timers. And I feel like that's such a naff thing to say, like, oh, a productivity timer. But honestly, I have just got into this, and again, it's been awesome, right? So the one that I've been doing is the Pomodoro method. So if you don't know about this, it's like all based on some tomato timer. I don't really know why, but it's this whole tomato vibe. And there is an app, so look up the Pomodoro app, and there is also a website. But basically the concept is, you can just do it yourself, is that you have 25 minutes of working, and then you take a 5-minute break. Then you have 25 minutes of working, and then you take a 5-minute break. And you have 4 of those 25-minute slots, I think, and then you take an extended break, like a 20-minute break or whatever it is. And the reason why I really enjoyed this is because 25 minutes is actually not that long. It's kind of similar to the writing sprint technique, but I think writing sprints have always stressed me out. Because of the word sprint, it makes me feel like during that writing sprint, I have to be writing as fast as possible and generating as much stuff as possible and not thinking and not doing detail work. I'm just getting stuff out. Whereas using the Pomodoro, and by the way, I like the app better than the website, I think, because I like to have my phone propped up in front of me and to actually be able to see the time, because I will literally feel like I've been working for 2 minutes. I'll glance down and I'm like literally halfway through a 25-minute segment, and you go, oh, like I'm gonna go over my 25 minutes here. Like 25 minutes is not a lot of time, but it makes me feel like I can do anything within that 25 minutes. It doesn't have to be writing sprints, right? It doesn't have to be like stream of consciousness or like go, 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 go. It's just 25 minutes. And I make a pledge to myself that I'm not going to check my phone, like social media, whatever. Like if you can switch your phone to do not disturb, that's really good. I'm not going to go out of my document or whatever. I'm not going to get up to make coffee, right? I've got 25 minutes where I'm going to work. And then at that 5-minute time, you kind of go, oh yeah, okay, I'll get a coffee, I'll do this, blah, 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 blah. And you can get back into it. I haven't been super strict with like sticking to the 25-5, 25-5, because what I've found, and this is crucial, is that if I can commit to doing the first 25-minute slot, then I'm in, right? Because when you're writing, the hardest part of writing, and I always say this, the hardest part of writing is actually doing the writing, right? Sitting down and actually doing it. But once you're doing it, it's like, oh, this feels so good. I could do this all day. So if I can just commit to doing that first little Pomodoro 25-minute segment, nothing else matters. Sometimes I get to the end of that 25 minutes and I'm on a roll, and I think, screw taking a break. I'm not taking a break. I'm just going to finish this train of thought. I'm going to keep going. We're going to keep going. So I skip the break, and I might go for another 25, or I might just toss the timer idea altogether and think, I don't need it anymore. I'm on a roll. I'm into this. I'm going great, right? Whereas if I'm struggling or I'm working through something that's a little bit more difficult, I might be on, feeling like I'm on a roll, but I just think, oh, I'm going to take that 5 minutes break. I'm just going to step away. When you then come back, it helps so much. And you can customize this to work best for you. So if you know that you need maybe like a 10-minute work, then 2-minute break, 10-minute work, 2-minute break. Or if you need an hour and then, 20 minutes off, and then an hour on and 20 minutes off, you can customize these things. But it's just giving you a little bit more structure, because usually I would just sit down to write and I would always feel like I needed a big chunk of time, like to not be interrupted, like 3 hours, 4 hours. I really struggle to do bitsy stuff because I struggle to get into it really quickly. But now I feel like, oh, if I just have 25 minutes, I know how to hook in, I know how to get started and get motivated. And it has actually really helped me. One thing that I would love in the future is like a physical version of like a productivity timer, because I think that would be really cool. But the app is really good, and I do recommend that you guys all check it out. And lastly is making sure that you've got the perfect environment. And when I say that, I don't mean like how I was speaking about before about needing my house to be clean and feeling like I was in a good environment. What I mean is like if I'm writing dialogue, I quite enjoy being at a cafe, right? There's like hustle and bustle, there's other people, you're seeing stuff is going on, it feels right, and I can really kind of like hear the characters in my head like a conversation that would be happening with me in the coffee shop. If I'm writing music or lyrics, I know that I need to be in a private space because I need to sing through the lyrics a lot and kind of like re-sing over it and over it and over it and tweak it and tweak it. And I really need to sing at like full capacity to figure that out because that's how I work, right? But you might be completely different. You might love writing music in a coffee shop, in the hustle and bustle. I work really great in libraries when I need to do really focused detailed work, so maybe like a rewrite on something that already exists. Okay, so really think about the environment, not in terms of like your setup or like what your monitor's like or your computer or what, but like think about where you are doing the writing and what is around you in your environment. Do you work best with natural light, right? Do you work best at nighttime when there's no natural light and you've got that dingy little lamp in the corner, right? Do you work best with noise cancelling earphones? Do you work best with classical music? Like, what is going on around you? And that is different in work time than it is in like inspiration time, right? So again, I said, if I'm mulling something over or thinking through a story problem, I love to be doing stuff and doing chores and listening to stuff and taking stuff in and being inspired by TV or certain songs or, having lots of intake. But when I'm writing, I need to be a lot more focused and have a lot less distraction, even if I'm at a coffee shop, right? I really have to focus in and not like be Googling stuff and looking stuff up. There's a time for research and inspiration, and there's a time for getting the writing done. And that's what this video is all about, getting the writing done. Because at the end of the day, there is only one thing that separates a really great writer and somebody who wants to be a really great writer, right? They can both do it, but the great writer actually does the writing, and the one who wants to be a writer just dreams about the writing, yeah? All of us have stories inside of us. All of us are a person with relationships and feelings and thoughts and ideas. We can all imagine what it is like to be a character. I think anybody can write if they want, but some people don't. Right? And hopefully if you're a writer or any kind of creative person, you do. And hopefully these tips have helped give you some ideas of how to get even more stuff done. Now, lastly, I just want to say there are different ways to measure your productivity. So I don't want you to think that, oh, I didn't finish the play or it's never been put on before, I haven't achieved X, Y, Z. You can still be productive without having plays put on, without having albums produced, or without finishing stuff, as long as you are always moving forward, right? And you can set yourself very intentional goals. Goal setting is another thing that I haven't really touched on today because I'm not a massive goal setter within my writing. You might say, I want to write 1,000 words and I'm gonna do the Pomodoro technique until I hit that 1,000 words and then I'm done for the day, right? You can set really specific goals. I want to write one chapter. I want to write one verse, okay? But in my opinion, as long as I am moving forward in some capacity every single time that I write, that could be one word, right? But as long as I'm moving forward, then to me, I class that as having achieved something and having been productive. It doesn't matter if I finish. It doesn't matter if this play ever gets put on, but as long as I'm always moving forward, I'm making use of my time. And what I'm trying to do is just be able to move forward more quickly. So that is all from me. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below if you're working on anything in particular and if you have any productivity tips to share with me, because I'm always looking for new and exciting ways to incorporate into my writing process. So see you in the next video.